Well, it's September 12th, 2020, here on the Gratu Orloff Network. I was inspired last night. Captain Strangelife, who's like the original comic book guy here on YouTube, he posted a video about men's adventure magazines. And you ought to go watch his video first. Look for the one that's on September 11th, 2020, about men's adventure magazines from the Silver Age. Watch that video first, and then come back and watch this one if you want. I'm going to show you some of my men's adventure magazines. Now, as he was saying, a lot of the GIs that went off to war and read comic books, they came back after the war, and there were, people handled coming back to civilian life in different ways. Some, went off to college. They got a free college education from the government for their service, and settled in suburbia, and they read their U.S. News and World Reports, and they smoked their pipe or cigarettes profusely and drank a lot. You look at those old Time, Newsweek, U.S. News and World Report magazines, Life, nothing but liquor ads. Hard liquor. So they, before the war and during the war, they listened to wild, crazy big band music. And then when they came back, they wanted calm. They listened to Mantovani. Go to an estate sale and see how many Mantovani records you'll see. I swear they sold more records than the Beatles. Mantovani, and they listened to a lot of the exotica music, Martin Denny and Arthur Lyman, the sounds of the Hawaiian Islands and exotic lands, because they'd been off and seen all that stuff, and then they wind up back in, Ohio or something, and they kind of crave that. And those were, and when their kids asked about the war, they didn't really want to talk about it much, because they saw some horrible shit. Secretly, when their kids played with their G.I. Joes or, played in the backyard army, they'd be proud, but they didn't want to talk about it too much. When they had a barbecue and they got drunk with their friends, they would tell war stories, but not around the kids or the wives. But then there were other guys that came back from the war, and they were still crazy and hopped up. Those that I was just talking about were kind of the middle class, but then there was the lower class that came back, and they worked in the steel mills and coal miners, and they came back after the war, and they'd never seen anything. They went to foreign lands, to Europe, to the Pacific Islands, and it was the big adventure of their life, and so they wanted it to keep going. So they'd been reading these superhero comics. Now there were these magazines that catered to all their perverse fantasies, and there were guys that would say that was the greatest time of my life. World War II. Mel Brooks, of course, he I think he was in Patton's Tank Corps, and Russ Meyer, the filmmaker that makes all the big booby movies. You may have seen Faster Pussycat Kill Kill. There's a whole bunch of those. He loved the war. That was the greatest time. He was a photographer for Patton. He filmed everything. But anyway, the guys that come back kind of, there were these sleazy companies, which actually were the same companies that make comic books. They were just in one office over. Because the comic book industry has always been really run at its heart by kind of sleazy people. I mean, it grew. The comic industry grew out of the pulps, and the pulps were pretty damn sleazy. And these magazines came out in the 50s and 60s. You can see the headlines. Yeah, I need to. Most of these, it looks like I put them in Mylar, but I didn't board them because when I was buying these, that was kind of before people started boarding. I don't know when that even started happening. I'm kind of I used to collect and then got back into it. Sex in the Suburbs. What was I talking about? Battle Cry. Now look at these amazing covers. The menacing enemy and the scantily clad women protecting the world from the peril. Okay, so Well, I've got some confidential magazines in here, And those aren't men's adventure magazines, but I'll show you the covers anyway. What does that say? Girls, beware of Elvis Presley's doll point pen. Sounds like interesting reading. Confidential was a gossip magazine. All right. And along with the men's adventure magazines, there were, of course, detective magazines. I will train you at home for good jobs in radio and television. So yeah, actually this box I've got here is a mixed bag or mixed box. I've got it labeled here, men's adventure and true crime. So I didn't really distinguish between them. So forgive me for not just showing you men's adventure. Detective yearbook. It's the same kind of sleazy scumbags that read these magazines that read the men's adventure magazines. I mean sleazy scumbags in the best sense of the word. Because obviously I own a lot of them, so what does that make me? For men only. The Island of Strange Women. Another copy of For Men Only. What's going to happen to this guy? It's you'd have to buy this. You'd have to invest, what is it, 35 cents? No, this is actually 25 cents. What a bargain. Deep, powerful engine throb. Gee. That always comes in handy at school. My father was in junior high during World War II at a Catholic school. And the nuns didn't like kids playing around. So this one kid would always bring stuff to school that he shouldn't have. One time he brought toy snakes. And so she takes them from him and throws it against the wall. It was actually a live snake. She didn't realize that. But another time, a kid had a toy hand grenade, what appeared to be a toy hand grenade he was fiddling around with under the desk. She took it, she tossed it into her desk, slammed the door shut, the drawer shut. Sorry, a Joe Biden moment. She slammed the drawer shut, and the hand grenade, the toy hand grenade, remained in her desk all year. Right after the last day of school, last day before summer, they had the kids polish the floor of the classroom. So they were left in there to do that. The nuns, teachers went somewhere else. And my father said, well, this is my chance. I'm going to go look at that hand grenade, that toy hand grenade in her desk. So he slips over there, no one's in the room, and he opens the drawer, and he studies this hand grenade, and it's emblazoned in his mind. A few years later, the day he graduates college, the day after he graduated college, he's drafted into the Korean War. And then he becomes familiar with real hand grenades. And at that moment, he became aware that hand grenade in that nun's desk was a real live hand grenade that I guess the kid in the class was playing with it, must have had it sent to him by his older brother in the war, in World War II. Anyway, yes, Captain Strangelife was showing you the ads in these magazines, and I always like to do that as well. Captain Strangelife is a genius. A few years ago, my wife's family was struck by Hurricane Harvey in Houston, and their house was flooded, and they had to rebuild the house. So my wife went down to help them out in Houston. She was down there for about 3-4 months, and I was here alone like I was for many years before I met her. And here's some of the negligee ads that Captain Strangelife was pointing out. Anyway, while she was down there, I started watching YouTube, and I discovered Captain Strangelife and watched all of his videos going back 10 years. And then I discovered Silver Age Dave and the comic crypt of Castle Hills down in San Antonio, and all these, just amazing members of the comic book community, or neighborhood as I like to call it. Community just sounds so communistic. Where am I? Okay. All right. For men only. You know, I have a friend. Well, he's passed away. I had a friend that had a lot of the original paintings for these men's adventure magazines. And these paintings are by great artists like Norm Saunders and Earl Norham. Looks like this one's more from the early 70s. It's got some slick paper in it too. But yeah, you can tell it's in the 70s. Look at this ad. I always love the Eleganza ads. Yes. What else? And this has... yeah, look at these. Look at the shoes. What is this for here? Choose the career that offers you the most out of life. Finally got the aspect ratio right on these Thor cartoons. I had to steal some batteries out of another remote control to do that. No, this actually has real nudity in it because it's the 70s. In the 60s, they didn't. These were more softcore, but by the 70s, they were trying to compete actually with the real stuff. This is like the most amazing cover. Fury. You imagine if you had this painting, this original painting on your wall. Shit, I could just take this to a Kinko's or something, blow this up to a poster size, and that would be pretty cool. An amazing offer. No, it's not a set of encyclopedias. It's the entire works of Zane Grey. Let's see what we've got. Damn, his bloody eyes. Well, that's great. Well, this has got color in it. So this is a little bit different than most of these magazines. Look at these ads. You can freeze frame and read. Filming these YouTube videos is hard on the back when you're almost Joe Biden's age. Fury. Yes, absolutely. I'm going to make a color poster of that. I'm inspired. I think I had these in some form of alphabetical order at some point. Don't know exactly. It's all true. Police detective. And of course, the ever popular rupture easer. Immediate comfort for you. Yes, this is more of a pulpy, cheaper paper kind of deal. Let's see, what kind of thing can we find here? Advertised in this wholesome magazine. Yes. Police detective. Nightclub nifties are sucker bait. Got a lot of cool song titles you could get from these headlines. Speaking of it, there's a Frank Zappa record that took some of the idea of there's a lot of these men's adventure magazines where there's animals attacking people and ripping their face, and he has an album cover, Weasels Ripped My Flesh, and I'm sure in this box I've got the original cover that I'm sure was the one that inspired Frank Zappa. Best Detective. Oh, another copy of... Oh, I've got two copies of the same issue. Wow, and this one's got a date stamp, which I can't read. January 20th, and then it says ANCO. Doesn't have a year. Oh, copy of Gusto. He-Man Adventures. He-Man. Headquarters Detective. What's the story with that guy there? My 4 years in death row. I've got to kill my baby. I'm a Democrat. This is a amazing photograph. Oh, yes. Candy Bar. You've heard of Candy Bar, the Dallas stripper. Are her dancing days over? Candy Bar. She danced in Jack Ruby's club. Oh, this is definitely 70. This could actually be 80s. What does it say on here, man? Yeah, 86. Man, they're still cranking out this stuff in 1986. Except it got even sleazier. I'm not really showing you much men's adventure. I'm showing you more crime. Lady Killers. The thrill of the kill. You know, they found a lot of these magazines in Ed Gein's house when they went in and started to take out all the dead bodies. Don't do that, Pete. Don't do that, Pete. It's playing with the light. Here's one of those covers I'm talking about where the animals are biting you. Horrific. Monkey Madness. This magazine has water damage. I probably shouldn't even show you this cover. Nope. I won't show you the naughty parts. This was probably in someone's bathroom. Ooh, I hate to think where this magazine's been. Yeah, I won't go any farther down on that one. She actually doesn't have any pants on, and this was on a newsstand. Shocking. Here's a great cover. She was a famous stripper. I can't remember her name, but I've seen a lot of pictures of her. Okay, don't do that there, Pete. Pete is my cat, and he's messing around with this fluorescent light. Inside story. What the Army really thinks of Elvis Presley. Okay, more men's adventure. Mail. That's kind of a boring cover, man. That is disappointing. Just a picture of a tiger. What? They're slacking. It's absolutely slacking. Oh, now we're talking. Man's Action. A classic cover. Man's Adventure. There's the man going to save the woman from the ape. That happened a lot in World War II. There were often ape attacks, and our men had to save women from them. Man's Adventure. And of course, there was this weird fetish about Nazi concentration camp, female Nazi concentration camp workers that tortured men and women, and male Nazis that tortured people. That seemed to be all over these magazines. And then there was even a movie that came out in the 70s called Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS. A really perverse movie, but it is it really gets into this fetish of the it's like an S&M fetish that people have. You notice that people into S&M, they always like kind of dress in Gestapo Nazi looking black outfits. It all comes back to that kind of sleaze. I don't know where it all comes from. It's strange. I'm looking at the ads because the ads are fun, you know, because you can kind of see who are they really aiming this magazine at. Dental plates for mount birds. You can learn how to impress people with magic cards. Not the magic cards of today. You'll never impress anyone with that. Okay, Man's Conquest. here we go. Cannibal crabs crawl to kill. That is a classic cover. That is what these magazines are remembered for, is the bloody guy defending himself from some kind of critter. Or in this case, a girl juvenile delinquent gang. You know, they were a huge problem back then. The terrible tortures of the teenage cults. Oh, if Antifa was only that cool, then we wouldn't all be making fun of them. This cover is a little inappropriate, so we won't look at that anymore. Man's exploits. I watched the fire dance of human sacrifice, it says. All right. Those monkeys continue to be a menace for our brave soldiers. But because they fought the monkeys into submission, we have the freedoms that we have today. And here we've got the girl pirates of the Yangtze River. You read about that in the history books. Joe Biden was just talking about those girl pirates the other day in one of his speeches. Man's exploits. Okay. Now, you got the Nazi doctor with a saw. He's going to saw this woman's arm off. And look, they've got a gorilla arm. Where did that gorilla arm come from? This poor gorilla back here. They're going to put gorilla arms on this blonde woman. Can you imagine? Man to Man Annual. This is more of a girly magazine. I got whole boxes of old girly magazines too. I don't know if that would be something you guys want to see here on a comic book oriented channel. Man to Man Annual. Now it's a snake. Why Hitler's stud farms didn't work. In case you were always wondering that. They will tell you the real skinny on it. Okay. Now, what are the Nazis up to now? The Nazis even have swastikas on the tops of the heads of the Panthers. Can you imagine? Yeah. Those crazy Nazis. Oh, and I always love this ad. Earn big money. Learn electric appliance repairing at home in your spare time. Oh, and you can get stag party originals for your party. You'll be the hit of your neighborhood, showing the stag party originals at your party. And of course, more for, is that for people that have hernias, I guess? You know. What? Oh, lots of fun stuff you can get. You know who that is in that ad there? Look at that woman there. Her name is Shirley Kilpatrick. She played the monster in The Astounding She-Monster. Can you imagine that? It's hard to read backwards. The Lust Revenge of the Depraved Nazi Catmaster. Yeah, some of these paintings actually survived, and you can, if you got a lot of money, you can actually purchase them. You know, but you got to be someone like Dita Von Teese buys some of the covers from the girly magazines, and you know, I've known a few people in my life that actually had money. More Monkeys. Was that the same magazine I just showed you? No, I don't think so. Oh, what is this? Men. Wow. Incredible. That one's not that. Okay, they're going into, there's more to that story. They're going in to get this guy, whoever he is. Must be some evil James Bondian villain. Okay, I don't remember even owning some of these. Men and Adventure. Yes, they were just constant Nazi covers, more Nazi atrocities. Let's see, what are they doing here? Are they giving her a manicure? Oh, they're gonna like drill through her arm. I thought they're okay. This would be a good painting to have in a tattoo parlor, I think. Let me hold this where you can see it a little better. Of course, the mylar, mylite, whatever you want to call it, makes it a little hard to. This one's not in anything. I got a bag and board this. Peril. Let's see. See if there's some amazing ads in here that will. Oh, I love that. What's it say there? And she used to be so fat. Reduce. She used to be so fat. This used to be a damn fine country. Ah, Betty Page. Betty Page, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. Yeah, you'll find Betty Page and lots of other great humanitarians in these magazines. Still more. These look like Bunny Yeager shots. Bunny Yeager was a female pinup photographer that photographed a lot of women down in Florida and photographed herself too. Okay, just a little bit more to go. Rage. It says rage for men. It really should be like fear for men because he doesn't look too angry. Someone just sent me a friend request on Facebook. Gosh, it just popped up on my screen. Not only were the monkeys a problem, but the cavemen were a problem too back in World War II. It was a wild and crazy war. Ooh, this is a nice older one, detective magazine. I was a gay girl for racketeers. And gay just meant kind of, it didn't mean the same thing back then. Gay just meant kind of had a lot of fun. Real Men. It now has 100 pages. I'm not sharing with you, and I have to twist my body around to do that. I gotta find a better way to do this. Got to be a better way. Okay. Real Men. That's not that exciting a cover. Come on, you can do better than that. Rugged Men. More Rugged Men. Rugged Men isn't sleazy enough. Ooh, this one's good and sleazy. Okay. This warrants flipping through. Oh yes, the famous glows-in-the-dark Lucky Skull ring. That's an ad I reused a lot in my fanzine days. I always take ads out of these old magazines and put them into magazines that I was making because it entertained me. Stag. This is all kinds of stuff. There's that Mark Jewelers that like to, everyone gets excited when they have a little Mark Jewelers supplement because they have a comic book that was sold on a base exchange. So they advertised in other ways as well. Why, this looks very James Bond-like. True crime exposés. And more true crime. Ooh, this is a good cover. Ooh, this magazine's a little bit worse for wear. For you. What now? More bears? Oh, here's the cover. This is the one that inspired the Frank Zappa album cover. You can look that up online. Flying rodents ripped my flesh. Yeah, and of course the Frank Zappa cover is, I believe, Weasels Ripped My Flesh. True Men. Captain Strangelife is saying the collector prices of these have gone way up. I didn't know that. They weren't that much really when I was buying them back in the 80s and 90s. One of those things where I'm glad I bought them when I did. It's True Police Yearbook. These look so good when they're not in the Mylar. Look at that back cover. Wow. Can you see the hidden picture? Astonishing. Ooh, this is actually a kind of a classier magazine. Class, real class. Oh, I remember I bought this one when I was in college. So this is, well, it is old because I'm old, but this is from the 80s, early 80s. She cut her lover in 8 chunks. I like that headline, so I couldn't pass it up on the newsstand. Valor. Vice Squad. More Vice Squad. I guess these are in some kind of alphabetical order. Witchcraft Today. You can't see the back cover of that one. Yeah, that's more of a dirty magazine, honestly. Not suitable for this adults-only audience here on YouTube. Headquarters Detective, ladies and gentlemen. Police Dragnet. You know that Jack Webb was married to Julie London? Julie London, the great singer, was also in the TV show Emergency. Some of you may know that trivia. Let's see what else have I got here. Okay, that's that box. I'm going to show you another box in another video, but first I found a couple of magazines here. Ow! Ow, 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 ow. One moment. Here's Kicks Magazine. Billy Miller, Miriam Lena. This is a great rock and roll magazine from the 80s. They're the people behind Norton Records. I think they just put out she just put out a new issue recently, and I need to get that, but those are my old ones. This is the Barsoomian, and this is an Edgar Rice Burroughs fanzine from when? Is there a date? October 1964. See, it's mimeographed. This is the back cover. Yeah. This is what fan magazines used to look like, but this one's a little bit better quality than some. Most of them have like the purple ink that older people like me may remember from the worksheets in school that you had to do that had that wonderful smell there. This before they had photocopiers. They mimeograph things. But that has black ink instead of the purple. Okay. I don't know. Here's a girly magazine, Good Humor. I've got like boxes and boxes of 50s and 60s girly magazines. If you're interested, The Cramps was a band that I listened to constantly in the 80s, late 70s and 80s, and the lead singer passed away a few years ago, Lex Interior. Their last few albums weren't very good, but the early stuff is amazing. Here's some new wave magazines. You may be interested, or maybe not, depending on whether you have good taste. And of course, you love Susie and the Banshees. I got a million bits of pop culture, but I just collected so many different things that I've got a little bit of everything, but not a lot of one thing. And I don't know if that's good or bad. More stuff. And still more stuff. And can't sign off without reminding you to, when you get to the supermarket, look for Fang. Breakfast drink for vampires. Drink it by the pint. Drink it by the gallon. Fang. Breakfast of astronauts. Neil Armstrong took this to the moon. And the astronauts in the new Space Force, this is the official drink of Donald Trump's Space Force. Bubble Up. It comes in the half-quart size, and remember, it's a kiss of lemon, a kiss of lime. Basically, it's a fucking Sprite ripoff, but or a 7-Up ripoff, more than likely. Actually, I never tried it. There's a store near me called World Market. It has a bunch of old soft drinks that you think aren't made anymore, but somebody makes it somewhere, and old candies and stuff. You can go there and actually get Bosco and stuff like that. I need to go by there sometime. I'll be back.